in Mobutu, then Kenya is indebted. And you're wondering, is this man or woman who's asking this question sincere? So you need to exercise a bit of sincerity and have some philosophy that informs part of your critique. Sometimes, when politicians, as absurd as they might sound, sometimes you ask a question. And I ask myself later on, what school did that man or young woman go to? Because that question that he asked is evidence of the most acute sense of ignorance. So we must also now, as a country, be a bit more sincere, because we've impacted on the people left out of the prison. We say here, bottom-up economic transformation agenda. The word transformation was used because the word revolution would have sounded too extreme to many of you who have been on class. These types of revolutions, where you totally and fundamentally reorganize the architecture of a country, be it it's economic, it's social, it's political, are usually revolutions that are carried out by militaries. Che Guevara, Thomas Sankara, but we carried out through a democratic process. And we were brave, unlike other governments in the past, which cow down on the basis of being told not to implement the universal health care. We soldier no. You told us not to implement housing. It is impacting on the lives of the Kenyan people, and it is transforming lives, and offering job opportunities. SHA had some TV programs, but audaciously we continued as a government, because we believe every Kenyan deserves quality and accessible and possibly free healthcare. So we have, with courage, when we came in, we decided to honor our sovereign obligations. The past government had set up a booby trap for anybody to fail, but we didn't. We went to the market, we bought, we were able to honor our sovereign obligations. We moved controls on the Kenyan shilling. It competes in the market on its own strength. We have been the Eurobond. We have been able to reprofile our debts on the SGR. So we have now enough headroom in the economy, in our domestic revenue mobilization to undertake some other priority areas of development. The country we have been able to subsidize other fertilizers production rather than subsidize consumption. God bless us with rains. We now have strategic reserves that are building up. Our foreign exchange reserves have built up. We have an import cover, which we have doubled from $6 billion to about $11 billion. There are things that have happened. The outlook, and not us, IMF, World Bank, gives a very positive outlook. But then you find some tedious, annoying blogger constantly trying to destroy a country. We see you people these days inviting panelists that are either economists, have no subject matter, familiarity, that are not in the sector. Everybody these days knows everything. Every Kenyan is an expert on everything, which is fair enough. But at least even the way I understand Islam, it has compartmentalized knowledge. Everybody has his own sector specialty. That's why you would hardly hear me speak about medicine. And then goes with medicine. Like up in Kenya, you can even do an open heart surgery and kill the patient. So we need to be a little more sincere about this country. The president in the state of the nation articulated a grand plan for Kenya to build its muscle and its infrastructure from its own resources to the national sovereign fund. Because we are testing new parameters. People are usually accustomed to doing things the old usual way. We sought the government or the validation of the Kenyan people on an agenda. We are the first government after post-independence that is implementing its manifesto word for word. I can show you everything that is in that manifesto that is being implemented. You have it in your public record. Be it stadium, be it community, be it agriculture, be it SMEs, be it housing, be it healthcare. I hope you did not think we were just beating about the bush, joking as usually other people joke and then continue the same path. I think this is one president and one government that has set a clear path of political transformation. And I'm happy, I must say I'm extremely elated that people out there, beyond the noises in TikTok, because if you were following TikTok, and these things going on, you would have thought you were losing everything. The boy is losing, it's not happening in Baringo, it's doing who you want happen, it's doing who they live. You know, sometimes build character in yourself, also being hesitant or criticizing others. You wake up an adult of sane mind, and you go to the platforms of other men and other women, and constantly posting insults. And you have a picture of your daughter and your son in your profile. It's traumatizing sometimes to know the upside views of social media. But ground vitu ni kama watu wanasikiza kweli ground, ingekuwa umesikia. Sijui bado wanasikiza. Si ground inazungumza. So that is the clarion call to the Kenyan people to support this transformative agenda, to support the unity of the country. As I said, we have moved from that divide and rule of the colonial relic to unite and rule, have the participation of everyone. We are trying to rebuild the ethnic fractures that were created by the colonial masters. We are trying to get rid of the colonial borders. That's why we are unapologetically Pan-African in this party. We believe in the unification of Africa, or in East Africa. Even some of us understood Museveni, most of you didn't understand. He simply said, why do you allow these colonial borders to limit us in terms of our trade? No Kenyan government, or a leadership under the Kenyan Kwanza Community government will ever restrict the use of our seas or our ocean to the detriment of Uganda. There are Kenyans, there are Sebeis there, Kalenjins here. There are Tesos there, there are Tesos here. Simply divided by colonial masters, and we hang on to these borders with such passion that it first and most fundamental thing is to appreciate African identity rather than the colonial partitions that put us into artificial borders. So these are some of the things this party believes in totally. We are totally Pan-African. We want to build this East African Federation of 320 million people. So because we are in Bantu, we were told as Bantus we came from Cameroon. Nobody stopped us. Wengine nasikia walitoka Sudan, tumekata kona, tumefika hapa Nyabuto, Nairobi. By the way, restricting anybody else from moving out of Africa. These are some of the things which we need to have a conversation. And one of the things we need to do as I finish this part of my speech, and out of the second half, is to continue to create a culture of critical thinkers, a culture of reading. By the way, UDA, by its own systems, by its own appeal, has young people elected. Yeah, because we have even the elderly, the electors still believe they have something to offer. You know, democracy, you cannot simply discriminate on the basis of age, color, race. But more importantly, UDA has 2 women elected on their own motion. 2 women. one in Jawani Ward, Sophia, and another in Samburu, Isabella. Demonstrate strong candidacy in women. The chair of this organization is a strong able governor who some man somewhere, a disgraced former deputy president, continues to profile, demonstrating a sense of hatred, lack of political sophistication, savagery. So we need to continue to mainstream and enhance women leadership. And now there will be an anti-climax to this press if we do not also address our grave concerns, particularly to one man, that was Omunyoka. You know, by design, many of you have made it a subject of our political discussions, but you realize that there is a relevant it gets. He managed some one or two seats that he was able to incite some ethnic basis against the regime of the government of Putin. What I want to tell this gentleman is that as a young Kenyan who's now not very young anymore, who probably has had a more illustrious struggle in this country's democratic transformation than he ever will. As Kindiki reminded him, he was a lecturer when he was stealing maize and relief food. I was also fighting the Moi regime, serving as a commissioner, and serving as a district commissioner or a district officer. And by default or design, somehow his brother's death ushered him into member of parliament. And then by accident, as vice president, a mistake that media has already corrected early in the day. His constant incitement for violence or creating a theater to incite violence must stop. Yes. Inchi siapa. We're now getting fed up with you trying to condition the country because you think you have some ethnic base somewhere, preparing it and inciting it to violence. We have done it repeatedly over this election period. Every time we have an issue, we threaten of consequences of 2027 based on the past experiences. I want to assure you, yesterday you asked youth between 18 and 35 to show up at Siakago. Not even your own son between that age showed up. That shows you that your fallacy has now become something of public authority, which people have taken cognizance of. But I want to tell you, we were in the opposition with you. We lost gruesome elections in Kabuchai, in London, here in Russia. We never at one time threatened anybody with violence. We never at one time threatened anybody with the consequences of the post-election violence. I think the public has spoken. To a large extent, the public rejects your call for violence and intimidation. I visited a lot of marginalized areas. I went to Turkana. I saw people who have never seen anything but war. War in the north, war in the west. I went to West Pokot. I saw people whose security is their biggest concern. And you think you're brave because you say well in Georgia Mumau. It is, if that were to be true, it is your father who's Mumau, not you. You you as if they're district commissioners to move and relieve. You have no credentials anywhere that has tested your courage or your bravery in terms of executing public agenda.